In this tutorial, I give you a brief overview of the app Knit Companion and how I use it. Today I'm going to show you how to set up a new pattern in Knit Companion. Now, the first thing you need to do in order to get your pattern into Knit Companion is open it either from Dropbox or from your Ravelry library. And I'm going to show you how to do it from the Ravelry library. The first thing you're going to want to do is on your tablet or your iPhone or wherever you are wanting to open your pattern, you're going to go to Safari. Now I have here the Haruni pattern on my library, and I chose this pattern because this pattern is also available already in Knit Companion to be able to edit and practice with when you first get the software, because a lot of people will get the software and not really know what to do with it and not know how to use it and decide that they don't want to purchase it. But it is a purchase that is well worth the amount of the cost. So from here, from the Ravelry library, what you're going to do is you're going to simply click on the pattern and open it up. And you will get the screen here that will give you the option to download, and you're going to go ahead and click that download button. And it will open up the pattern in a new window. And it's going to take a moment for it to load here. Depending on your internet connection, it will depend on how long it takes for the pattern to come up on your iPad. From here, what you need to do is you need to be able to open it in a specific app. And that information is going to be right up here on your screen. But you have to kind of touch it so that you see it. You saw how it came up there? It's right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Open In. And then you have choices that you can scroll through until you find Knit Companion. And once you find the Knit Companion icon, you will click on that and it will open the new project. Now, from here, the PDF is open in Knit Companion, but in order to edit the charts, you do need to create a new project. So you're going to click the New Project button at the top here and allow the software to pull up the pattern and to make the new project. Because we are starting this project brand new, we are probably going to want to include all of the pages in this particular PDF. There may be times that you only want to include certain pages, but at least you'll know how to do it. If you want to only include one page, then you would just click on the pages that you want. But in this case, we're going to click the Select All to select all. And then we will click Next, and that's when we will create our project name. And then you can select to choose a quick start. The quick start, all it's really going to do is create pages for each or sections of the pattern for each of the pages that are in this pattern. However, because I want to show you how to set up the charts, we cannot use a quick start. If you are going to use charts where you can scroll up and look at each line on the chart, like if you were doing lace, then you are not going to want to use this quick start feature. So I will turn that off so that when it creates my project, it's not in the quick start screen. Now, if you forget to turn this quick start off, then you can convert it to a normal pattern if you want to create charts and so forth at some point in the future. So right now we will go ahead and click Create Project. And unfortunately, you will see here it's given me an error message saying that there's already a pattern with that name. So I'm going to just name it Haruni 2. So now we will click Create Project, and it will take a moment to create that project. So here you will see that there are there's nothing up here in this screen here. There's nothing here. Our project is completely empty. But if we click on the PDF here at the bottom, you will see that we have all of the pages. And if we need to look more at the pages, I can do that pinch and look at that. So all the pages are here for this project. But this is not going to get us what we need in order to follow along on a chart. So we are going to want to come over to this setup section. And in many cases, the chart is really the only thing that I set up on my Knit Companion. I will go through how to set up text and whatnot, but because you have easy access to the PDF right here, and if you ever need to go back and read text instructions, you can simply go to that PDF, find what you need to look at for that, for whatever it is that you are needing instruction on. You can find it here and then just read what you need and then move on. Now, what I do also do in addition to my chart is I will set up the legend so that I have easy access to that directly from my project. But usually, like I said, I specifically only set up the charts because that is what I find the most useful in Knit Companion. But I will again show you how to set up the text as well if you would like to have specific detail on that. So let's go ahead and start setting up parts of this project. So like I said, you will start over here in the setup, and you'll click on that, and this is where you set up pieces, keys, and templates. Now I will be completely honest with you, I have never used templates. I'm not exactly sure what they do, but the pieces and the keys are the top things that I use. The keys are usually located at the bottom, and that is where I always put my legend. So I am going to start there because that will be one quick section that will be done pretty quickly. So we will click to add a new key, and then I will scroll to find my legend here. And I will select that, and then I will name this piece, and I'm just going to call it a key. And then select. And now I have my screen where it's telling me to start click and drag. You see the arrow up here in the corner, and all you're going to do is put your finger down on that arrow and drag as far as you want to take you're basically doing like a screen print on this PDF. And so once I've selected my area, then I have the purple bars on the outside showing me what is going to show up in that section. If I need to rotate it, I can do that, but we're not going to go through that because I know we're going to need to do that in order to do the chart. If I've selected the wrong section, I can click clear. If I need to flip it, I don't really flip it. I do rotate every once in a while because you need to do that if you're doing a chart. But for right now, I'm just going to click the save because that's all we need for this one. So now you have this piece. Now, if you've decided that there's something wrong with this, you can go back and recrop. If you've decided that you've done something a little bit wrong, you can do highlights and annotations at this point. I will go over highlights and annotations once we get to the other sections and editing the pattern once it's in your project. But for now, we are just going to leave it as is and consider this done. We've already saved it, so now all we need to do is go back to Setup Project. And you see there is the key right there. Now, if I go back to my project window, it still looks the same. There's no change here. You're not quite sure what happened. But if you come down here and you click on this little kind of tab, it will come up and you see the legend is there at that point. This makes it easy, so when you are reading your chart, if you have forgotten what one of these icons means on your chart, you have a quick reference to that. So now that we have the key set up, we'll start setting up other pieces to this project. We will go back down to Setup and click on the Setup screen. And we already have our key set up, so we don't have to set up any additional keys at this point. So we will click on the pieces to add a new piece. And I will start with adding new text, just to kind of give you an idea of how to add text. So we will click the text screen or text button there, and then click continue. From here, we need to select which of these pages we want to work with for our text. And I'm going to select this page here, number 4, because it has the setup instructions, the chart A overview, and we'll start with that. So once I have selected which page I want to use, I'm going to come up here and click the piece name, and I'm going to call this setup. Oops. And once I have done that, then I can click select. And again, just like with the key, I'm getting the arrow up here in the corner so that I can select what I want to show up for this section. And since I can see here that this is the setup section right here, I'm only going to include just that section. So I will put my finger up just above the setup title, and I will drag it down to show just that part of the page. And then I will come down here and click save. So now that piece is all set up. Again, if you need to recrop it or change something, you can do it at this point. But this is fine for what I need, so I'm going to go back to Setup Project, and I'm going to set up my next piece. And again, I'm just going to click on the plus sign for pieces, and I'm going to select text again, and then click continue, because now I'm going to set up the chart A overview. So again, I'm going to select page 4. Then I'm going to come up here and select the piece, and I'm going to put chart A overview. And you can do capitals or whatever. It's up to you. It's quick, I don't have to necessarily do the capital letters. So I've got my page selected, and then also my piece name. Now, if you forget to select a page, it will give you a warning and you won't be able to go any further. But I have selected it, so I will go ahead and click the select button. And yet again, I'm getting my little arrow, but I've already included this setup in another part of the project, so I don't need to include that part. So I'm going to come about right here with my finger, and I'm going to click and drag down for that section. And you see that the chart A overview kind of got a little cut off right there because my finger was a little down a little too far. What you can do is just stick your finger on this purple section and then just drag it right up until it meets where you want to put it. So now I've got that chart A overview all selected, and I can click save to continue. And I can look at it again, verify that yes, this is exactly what I want, and I'm ready to move on to the next section. So I will click back to Project Setup, and I'm ready to select my next piece. Again, I will come over here to the plus sign, and this time I'm going to select the chart because I have the chart A overview, and now I want to put the chart A into the project so that those things are together in the project so I can look at them. And I will explain that when we get back to the project page. But for now, I'm just going to click continue. And now I'm going to scroll through my pages here and find chart A. And here's chart A. It's a little difficult to see from this screen here, but it is chart A, so I will select that. I will also give it a name called chart A. And then once I have my piece name and my chart selected, I can click the select button. And now you have a bit of more information here. You have some visible rows, stitches. Those are the most important things that we need to look at. But before we can do anything, we are going to need to rotate this chart because we cannot work from the chart when it is on the side like this. So we're going to come down here and we're going to click rotate, and that rotated it, but it's still not quite right. So I'm going to rotate it again and again until I get it upright to where I want it. And now you see again, you've got that little arrow telling you that you need to click and drag to select your section. So I'm going to click and drag just to give me a general section that I want. However, if you are going to want to use the highlight bar to highlight which row you are on, you're going to need to crop this chart very closely. And what I mean by that is that these purple sections will need to be right on these lines so that when you select how many rows and stitches that you have, the software will calculate the right amount of space to do for each line. Because what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, there's X number of rows and then X and X number of stitches. Now I haven't noticed too much that the stitch count makes a huge difference, but definitely the row numbers. If you have say 14 rows and you put 15 rows in by accident, then your highlight bar is going to be off a little bit from there. So what we need to do is we need to get these purple bars right up close to the chart so that the highlights will work properly. So all you're going to do is just touch the one bar, whatever bar you want to start with, and drag it down to exactly where you want it. And this, at first, it's a little difficult to kind of get a feel for, but once you practice and do it a couple times, it'll get a little bit easier to do. And you want to get it right on that line. So we'll come down here and again, oops, we don't want to move it. We'll bring it right up to the line. And then on the right hand side here, we will bring that one over. Now, I have gotten really good at doing these charts like this, but maybe you are new to doing charts and it's not as easy for you to get it right on that line. So what I suggest, what you can do that makes it a little easier is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select this purple part here. Now, if you select it and put it a little bit onto the chart and then tap it, I'm not sure, oops. If you tap it, it should nudge. There we go. See how it's nudging just a tiny bit as I tap it? So I can back it off and get it exactly where I want it. So just come over the chart just a little bit and then just tap it slowly to nudge it just a little bit to get it right on that line. And again, it is so important that you get these purple bars, and maybe it's a different color in your program. It may not be purple because I think I've changed my colors in my app. So your colors might be blue or they might be green. It might be a different color. So I'm saying purple bars because that's what I'm looking at on my screen. So before you can save this chart, you must put in these visible rows and number of stitches. Because if, like I said, if you don't do that, first of all, I don't think the program is going to let you go forward, but the program needs that information in order to be able to do the highlight rows. So in this case, this chart is for only the odd rows, so you'll need to count how many rows you have, and I've already counted, and there are 16 rows. So I will come up here and I will put 16 in here, and then over here you will put the number of stitches, and you can very easily see that because the designer has put the stitch count in here as well. So you'll put 41 here, and I always keep the bottom row and the increment number by 1. I guess if you are doing a chart and the chart continues, like this is the first chart, so it starts at row 1, but let's say you're doing chart 2, and chart 2 starts at row 30, it'll be 33. So you might want to change the bottom row to row 33. I usually just keep it all as row 1 and just make sure that the increment is by one row also. So once I have the visible rows and the number of stitches that are listed, then I can come down here and click Save. And I will be able to view my chart at this point. Now, we don't have to add any additional charts at this point. We are just looking at our chart A. If you needed to add an additional chart, if there was a right side and a left side to your chart, you could add it by doing an add image. And again, you would have to crop that image. You will have to select, are you going to add it to the right or to the left? Are you going, or up or down, or what have you? So at this point, we're just going to go ahead and add. We're not going to add an image. I'm sorry, we're not going to add an image. We're just going to leave this chart as is. So we are ready to go back to the project page. But before I do that, I do want to talk to you a little bit about these things down here at the bottom, just so that I can give you the information if you happen to need them. I will tell you that I don't typically use any of these things here at the bottom, other than possibly the add image, which hopefully we will get to do that at a later part in this tutorial. And if not, I will show you separately how to do the add image. But there are some other options that you can use for your charts. Let's start with the row text. Now, the row text is a way for you to add in the written instruction for the chart. I particularly only work from my chart when I am working from a chart, and very rarely will refer to the written instructions. But if you are new to chart reading and to using charts for your knitting, then it might help you to have the row instructions very quickly and easily at hand for you. So from here, you can click on row text and click the plus sign. And just like when we selected a section for the chart and for the other project pieces, we will go down here and we will find the section that talks about Chart A directions. So we will select that page and then click the select button here. And once again, we are given that little arrow so that we can highlight the area that we want to have selected for row 1. And I will click on I will put my finger down where I want to and select that row. Now I am not going to go through and select all the different rows for all of the different text versions, but I did want to show you that. So now I will come down here and click Save, and then it gives me just a quick overview here of what my cropped image is. And once I have approved that, I can just go back to row text. And then I have here, I can either edit it with the little pencil mark, or I can go ahead and go to the next row and add that as well. Again, I'm not going to go do that at this point, but I did want to show you that part of it. So we will go back to piece to look at the other sections. So the next thing we're going to look at are the markers. Now, the markers, this is where the number of stitches is going to come in handy, because a lot of times a pattern will tell you you can use stitch markers or where to place stitch markers and whatnot, and you can actually put that information right into your knit companion to make it easy so that you know exactly where those stitch markers are supposed to be, and it will give you a quick, easy reference. So to do that, you come down here and you can click the plus button. Now, again, you have the option of a stitch marker, a lifeline, or a single stitch. Now I'm going to show you how to do the stitch marker and the lifeline, because the lifeline is important, because if you are putting in lifelines, you need to know where those lifelines are, which row you were on when you put that lifeline in, so that if you do have to rip back to that point, you know where to continue from there. So we're going to start with the stitch marker. So let's select that. And you'll see here that it's selected a stitch marker and you have a dotted line here. Now, if I come over to, say, right here, I can move that stitch marker. Now I've just touched that spot and that highlight has moved. Now, let's say I don't want it to be yellow, that I want it to be a different color. I can come over here and change the color, whatever I need. Now, if I want to add another stitch marker, like maybe I need to add another stitch marker over here, I can come back down here to the plus and add stitch marker again. It's come over here again, but now I will bring my cursor or my finger over here. I will click it and put that stitch marker in, and it's automatically made it the same color as the previous stitch marker. So we will come back down here again to the plus, and we're going to add a lifeline this time. And this is going to be on the row, okay? So we need to select which row we put our lifeline in. Now, you won't have this when you're first setting up your project, but at some point you will. So I'm just going to select a different color, and I'm going to select this line right here that I've put the lifeline in. And it moves that that highlight down so that I know if I rip back my my work to my lifeline, I know that when I am re-knitting, that I'm going to start on this row right here. Okay, so now I have that lifeline entered, and we can go on to the next section. So let's go ahead and go back to piece. And now you'll see that you have all of your lifelines and your stitch markers and whatnot here. And again, you have the highlights and the annotations here. I'm not going to go through those things right now because I will talk about them a little later. And I have never used the smart counters, so I'm not even going to talk about those because I have never used those. If I do at some point start using that, I will produce another video telling you how to use that. So at this point, we are ready to go back to setup of the project. So now we have some basic things set up, and we can go ahead and get started on our project just with these things, and then we can continue and set up other parts of the project as we need to use them. So let's go ahead and click back on Haruni 2, which is the name of our project, so we can see how it looks in the project window. So you will see up here, these are the sections that we have already created. We have the setup section and the pieces that we had for that. We have the overview, and we can look at everything here that we've selected for that section. And we also have our chart A, and we can look at that. Now you will see that my rows, the way that my rows are, I have my row highlighted. All the rest of the rows are highlighted, and my row is going to stand out to me. This is the way that I wanted my app to work. Your app will probably be set up in reverse, where the row that you're working on is highlighted. But I prefer to have my chart set up like this. And you will see as I click up on my chart, as I advance on the rows, that the highlight section stays right on. Now it was difficult to see that because that was on the lifeline, so it doesn't even look like it's highlighted. But the highlight section, that which row I'm on, is always right on the money for the line. That's why it's so important to make sure that the number of rows and the chart is cropped properly. If your chart is not cropped properly, then those highlights will not show up properly. Now, I do want to show you the highlights and annotations. So normally I would only use these things in a pattern where I have to make notes and when I want to highlight for a specific size. But because I'm doing the demonstration with this pattern, I'm just going to quickly show you how that works. So I'm going to come over here to my chart overview, chart A overview, and then I'm going to come down here to edit. And that I'm given some choices. Highlights, annotations, those are the things that I use most often. So let's start with highlights. And it brings up the section that we've cropped, everything that we've cropped. So I will come over here to the plus sign and select to do a highlight. And you'll see that it put in this arbitrary box. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take your finger, you're going to pick that box up, and you're going to move it to wherever you want it highlighted. I use this box, these highlights, when I am doing such as a sweater pattern that requires, that has multiple sizes, and I only want to look at the size that I am working with. So I will use these highlight boxes for that purpose alone. So it's very easy to select just one little bit. So I kind of centered but aligned my box up with this K3 right here. I'm going to consider this like a sizing or a count number for a size, so you can see how to do this. So I've kind of put it up here in the corner, and then I'm going to select this box with my finger right here, and then I'm just going to click and drag so that it comes and just highlights that section. Okay? So now I've highlighted my my size. I'm going to say that that's my size for this pattern. Now again, if I want to add more, I can do that. I can add another one, but maybe I don't want it to be that color. I can come up here to the color, and I can change the color to a different color and then put that wherever I want it. You know, I can highlight, so let's say I need to highlight this whole paragraph here, that I want to highlight this entire paragraph. Then I can just select and highlight. Maybe that's important for what I need. And now that section is highlighted. So when I go back to my project, it's highlighted here. And you can still delete these highlights. Let me just add one more here just so you can kind of get an idea. And I will make it another color and move it to somewhere else. And you can zoom in on this, so if it's a little too small, you can zoom in with the pinch and make it exactly the size that you want it. So let's say I put that one in there and it's like, I don't really need that one after all. I can just delete it. As long as I am highlighted, the one that I want is highlighted over here. If I want that one, I can select that one or this one. As long as the one that I want to delete is highlighted, then I can come down here and click that X and get rid of it. So now let's go ahead and move on to annotations. So we'll go back up here to Haruni 2, that's our project. And we're going to still stay on this page, but we're going to come down here again and click the edit. And this time we're going to select the annotations, or annotations I should say, that's how you pronounce it. I don't know why I'm saying annotations. Anyway, so here, the great you can make notes. So for instance, what I like to do is if I'm working, say, a sleeve on a sweater, and I know that I have knit, a lot of times it'll say knit to X number of inches or whatever, if you're working the body of a sweater or whatever, and then you have to knit a second one the same way. I like to make notes on what I'm doing for the first one so that when I have to make the second one, I have all the notes that I need for to recreate the exact same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the plus, and it's giving you the option for a pop-up text. And then you just click on the pop-up text, and you'll see down here you have like what looks like a little post-it, and you can pick that up and move it. Actually, you don't pick it up, you don't put your finger on it, you just touch wherever you want it to go. I always make that mistake. I always think I'm going to pick it up and move it, but you just touch your screen wherever you want it to go, and it will go there. Just like with the highlights, you can come up here and select a different color for your post-it note. And then in this section here is where you will type your notes. You can type anything you want. It could be as long or as short as you want. We're just going to put row 1, and then I'm going to put it just note. And then that will be my note. You can type whatever you need to put in there, but it's going to show up in this little pop-up little post-it note. And once we have that note put in, then we can go back to our project again and look at it. And there it is. So from here, if we're working in our project and we see a little post-it, we can just touch that with our finger, and it's going to come up, and we're going to be able to read everything that we have typed in for that note, which makes it really great. Like I said, if you are trying to duplicate a sleeve, or if you have notes for a particular line item or what have you, it gives you options to be able to add those notes into your project. So now let's say that we have all of the notes and everything on our project, and we're ready to get started on our chart A. We want to start on row 1, and maybe we don't want to see all this up here. We can click on this little tab here to close it down so that we only see our chart. Now, if you have a very large chart and it's too small, the print is too small for your screen, you can pinch and make it bigger or smaller, whatever works for you. And then, like I said, over here you have your changes, to advance on the rows. So if you click that, you can advance on your row and be able to follow right along with your stitches. Over here you have your counters, and if you are to just click on the counter in this position, it will advance. So if you need to keep track of something there. If you open it up, then you can make some changes. If you do a swipe with your finger, across this way like this, you'll get that edit button that you can click on edit. You can basically restart with this little icon, or you can go down a row with this icon. For instance, if you accidentally hit it more than once and you're like, oops, didn't mean to do that, you can fix that, and then just click save to close that up. And you have that for 4 different counters here, and then you can close that up so it's back off to the side, and you can continue working. Now, we only set up chart A in this pattern, but if we are ready, if we finished up chart A and now we need to set up chart B, because that's what I normally do. I normally only set up the absolute minimum when I want to get started, because usually when I want to get started on a project, I want to get started now. I don't want to have to, spend hours and hours and hours setting up my entire pattern, because there might be multiple charts, there might be multiple components like sleeves and fronts and backs and whatnot, that I don't want to take the time to set up all those things. So I might set them up as I go versus doing it all at the beginning. So again, just like we went at the beginning, we'll just go back to setup, and we can set up our next chart. Or our next, we'll set up chart B with the chart B overview. So we'll go back up here to pieces, and we'll select text and continue. And I'm going to go through this very quickly because we already did this once. We're going to do chart B overview. Select. I'll select the section that I want. I'll do some nudging of my my bars. I'll click save. And I'm going to add an image just so that you can see how that works. So I'm going to come down here and go add image. And I'm going to select to add it a new image vertically. So then, in fact, it actually works out perfectly, because on page 6 of this pattern, there is a small section that looks like it still belongs to the chart B overview. So I will select page 6 and then select, and then I will select this top section only so that it can be with the chart B overview. Once I've selected it, I will come down here and click save. And now when I scroll up, I will see that section there at the bottom. This one row was from the other page. So that's a perfect thing. And you can, maybe you wanted to put it at the top, it automatically goes to the bottom. You can select different things about it. Usually, as long as you've selected that you want to do it vertically or horizontally, it usually puts it where you want it, where you need it. But if it hasn't put it where you need it, you can make those changes here. Once I've looked at it, made sure that this is what I want, then I can just click the save button down here. And now when I go back to my project, so I'll go back to setup, and I will go back to Haruni 2 so I can see it in my project screen. I will need to pull down this bar at the top so that I can see that new section, which is right here. I can click on that and then close up my little bar here so I don't have to look at that. And then I can scroll through my chart B overview, and I see down here my section at the bottom too. So that was the perfect thing for that. And then I would go in and set up my chart as well, and that would also end up showing up over here as a separate piece for my chart B. And again, if I go back to my PDF, if I want to set up the other sections, such as like this is construction note. If I need to set up, if I go to this page, if I want to set up a section on the crocheted bind off, I can do that. I can set up a section for the I-cord bind off. It just depends on how much you want to set up in your pattern. Again, the charts, here are the charts, but if you want to set up the whole chart A directions as a page or as a component of that pattern, you can do that as well. There are so many ways that you can use Knit Companion, and if you have an iDevice, an iPad, or an iPhone, and you are not currently using Knit Companion and you're doing lace charts, I highly recommend you give this program a try because it really is amazing. I do not do anything with charts or anything like that without my Knit Companion. So definitely give it a try, check it out. And I would love to hear your feedback on how you like this program. As always, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You can find this and other tutorials on my blog at www.knittingblooms.com or on my YouTube channel. Please check them out, and also you can contact me with comments or suggestions for future tutorials at knittingblooms@gmail.com. Bye!